Peace and blessings, everybody. I am your brother Orina, all the way from the motherland, all the way from Kenya, Nairobi, nation's capital. Welcome to Sell Afrika to Africans, the home of Pan-Africanism. Well, you've seen the thumbnail, you're seeing the beautiful guest we have. She's not a guest, actually. She has been here before. I have been on her platform before. She is a friend of the show. And wow, wow, wow. She is smart, funny, and black. Please give it up for Amanda Seals. Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. If you haven't noticed, my name is different today. It's Amanda Diva
Mhm.
2.0 because we're talking about music, and I decided, I'm going to bring back my old music moniker, Amanda Diva. And I'm going to add a little, because the kids be adding all little things to their names, like YNF and QRQ, et cetera, et cetera. So I said I'm going to be a 2.0. So Amanda Diva 2.0 / Amanda Seals. But thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Uh, your album, Truth Translator. What an album. And by the way, the thing, yeah, we'll talk about the cover and everything, but the thing that caught my eye is the number of songs, and that's nine. Nine is my
Yep.
lucky number. Nine is my lucky
That was
number.
by design.
Please explain why. Explain why.
Well, 9 is a number of change. 9 is a number of revolution, of resolve. 9 is a number of shifting and transition. And that is something that we are doing whether we like it or not in the world. It is also something that we need to do as a people consciously. Imagine if the world we live in is in a time of shifting, and then we choose to not just be along for the ride, but to actually be intentional in what that shifts into. That is what I hope for us. And Truth Translator, the album, is speaking directly to us and encouraging us to all become translators of the truth so that we can know the steps that we need to take.
You rapped, you sang, you produced, you wrote the whole thing, and it's very hard for it's very hard for artists to do that. Normally they have writers to do so. Normally they have producers to produce their beats. But why did you see the need of doing everything in this album?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's hard for artists to do that. I think it's just different artists work different ways. Um, this was it was an album I didn't like set out to make. I just kind of stumbled into production. I didn't know that I could produce. I've always been very musically savvy, and I can read music and I have a great ear. I've led bands forever because I had in my previous life as a music performer, I was performed with live bands. So I know how to lead a band. I know music. However, it was like production just seemed almost like just out of my reach. Like, oh, it's going to be too technical, too technology ridden, et cetera, et cetera. And when I was doing my show Views from Amandaland last year, I did these little intros on the show, and I actually started tinkering around, and I bought a little controller just to see what I could do. But I never really gave any like true commitment to it until this year when I said I want to do an album. And my typical producer that I work with, Ray Angry, he wasn't going to be available until the end of the year. But it was like, no, but I need to do this now. And so I started playing around, and I realized, oh, I'm not just enjoying this. I'm like, I think I'm good at it because I'm not precious with my darlings. I'm very objective as an artist, because if you aren't hard on yourself, baby, you will put out some bullshit and the people will be harder on you than you ever could have been on yourself. So I really am like a very tough critic. And I started making little things that turned into bigger things. Then the first song that I produced was Philistine. And it was like, oh, this is different. This is fun. But I think this is also necessary. You're breaking codes, not codes, but you're breaking like norms. There's no real genre that you can say that this album is. I mean, I think it's soulful. It's
Mm.
also got some rap in there. Then you got Malecón, which is giving a little bit of a salsa cumbia. You know, I mean, there's just it's vibes. That's the genre. The genre is vibes. High vibes. So yeah, I think some artists may prefer. I mean, I've been that artist who got production from other people, but it was so freeing to be able to just make the things that were in my head, you know, and not have to ask somebody to do it and kind of stumble upon. It was like I got to be able to take what's in my head and make it come to life. That was absolutely exciting. And as far as writing goes, I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. So
Mm.
I never had anyone write for me. I actually really don't even like acting like that because it's like I ain't trying to say y'all words. I'd rather say my own.
Well, I knew you actually from acting. That's how I got introduced to your work. So seeing you in music, whoa! I was mind blown. I was mind blown.
Why? Why is that so
Well,
shocking?
maybe because it's the first album I've heard from you.
Yeah,
I
but
should
like
hear
an
more.
artist is an artist. Why is it so shocking that I would be doing music?
No, what? Okay, let me not say shocking, but it was it was it it was a change for me when it comes to seeing your like because literally I came from your acting and your television all the way to music, and I was mind blown because you did it so well. You did it so well. It's because I have this is the first album that I've heard from you, Amanda, so that's why. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I will say though, I think for the most part, most people who are true artists, they can dibble and dabble in different places. You know, like I, I mean, you'll probably have the same reaction when you see my artwork because I'm a full
Oh,
painter. So, um, or maybe
mm.
when you see me DJ, you'll be like, she's a DJ too. Oh my god, you know. So, I think um, I think I think for what it's worth, the thing that people are most surprised about is just they're constantly seeing me on the internet, um, you know, just really speaking honestly about so much of the mendacity and the um, terrible things that are going on in the world. And then when you hear the music doesn't sound dark. You know, the music doesn't sound depressing. It's honest, it's truthful, it's revelatory. However, it's joyful and it's hopeful. And I think that's the thing that I think, how many times am I going to say I think? I'm pretty sure, there we go. That's shocking for most folks. But when you're making something from a real pure place, it seems like it's only natural that it would come out that way.
Truth Translator. What a album title.
Yeah.
Somebody has been telling us lies, and we have to start speaking the language of truth. And you are the truth translator. Well, now my question is, who has been telling us the lie? What is this truth, and why are you the truth translator?
Well, so here's the thing, it's not about me being the truth translator. It's about all of us being the truth translator. That's literally the opening of the album, right? I say, the cutlass clears the path, the sage expels energy takers, the truth is what guides us. So, thus, we must all become its translators. And that is a call to arms. You know, when folks are asking, what do I do? What can we do? What are we doing? On a very, very, very basic level, do you stand in truth? Do you honor honesty?
Mm,
Something
mm,
that basic is actually very out of reach for a lot of people. And if you don't do those things, then you'll never truly be able to receive what the solution is, because you're not even willing to accept what the actual problem is. So we're at a time where folks aren't even able to accept what the actual problem is. So I don't want to hear nobody asking about solutions because they won't even admit what the real issue is. And
mm.
thus, we must all be truth translators. The lies that have been told to us have been on various levels, right? We don't know the truth of our historical past. We don't know the truth of our literal present. You know, we're being told that some 60,000 people were unalived in Palestine, and we know that that's just not true. We know that it's at least 100,000. There's no way it can't be. You know, we're told even today that there's some ceasefire in Iran. Is there? We'll see. You know, so when we're talking about who is telling us the lies, it can be from a geopolitical level, but it can also be on a personal level, right? Like who in your life is being dishonest with you about how they exist, about how you exist, etc. I want all of that from around me. Get all of that from around me. I don't want anybody around me that's not being honest with themselves and that's not going to be honest with me.
The cover is very interesting. You have a machete on one hand and sage. Is that a sage? Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Sage on the other. Explain that because I really like
Did
it.
you
Like as a
listen to the
revolution.
album?
I did. Yeah.
Baby, that's the first two lines of the album, Orina. Yes.
Mhm.
And I literally just said it when I answered the last question. The cutlass, which is what we call in Grenada, we don't call it a machete, we call it a cutlass. The cutlass is to clear a path. The sage is to expel energy takers.
See, the cutlass, okay, we call it machete here, we call it panga.
Context clues, the cutlass. You know,
Okay.
I expect a scholar like yourself to look up cutlass. Like, whoa, pause. I don't know what that word is. Before we even get anywhere in this album, let me take a listen and figure out what a cutlass is. Yeah, that's what we call it, a cutlass in the Caribbean. And a cutlass is used when you're in the bush and you use it as a weapon, but then you also use it to clear a path through the bush, right? And we know the bush is chaotic. It's all the plants and everything happening all around you. Well, baby, that's where we are. We are in the chaos. And so we need to cut a path. At the same token, the sage is there because we need to clear that path of anything that is going to take our energy away from staying on it. So the cutlass is to clear a path. The sage is to expel energy takers. The truth is our way forward, and thus we must become translators. So what I'm saying with that image is I'm holding these things. However, they're available for anyone. And the reason I have the face paint on is it's from the anato plant. And that was what the indigenous people of Grenada used to use on their faces when they would either go into battle or, you know, do certain rituals, etc. And the anato plant is still used for dyes. Like if you don't have turmeric, you might use the anato plant to get color in certain types of food, etc. So, and it also speaks to just the necessity for us to get in touch with indigenous knowledge. I mean, you know that. You're from the motherland.
Yeah. Wow. My favorite, I told you, is Waves on the Malecon because sonically it sounds very nice. I like it. I like it.
I like it.
No, I like it. I like Waves on the Malecon because sonically it sounds. I think that's the best song sonically in your album, Waves on the Malecon.
Interesting.
Yeah, sonically that's. But message-wise, it's Stardust remix and Higher as well, and also Better Way. Higher by the way was a good intro. That was a good intro. And let me read a line. Let me read a line from Stardust remix that I need clarification on because I said this one I have to ask Amanda this. You said you can march to your own drum, but can you handle freedom? Woo!
Yeah.
Well, please expound.
Well, you know, I think that the concept of freedom is just that for a lot of people. It's a concept. They don't necessarily know what it is because they don't live in freedom on a regular basis, outwardly and inwardly. We have so many of us that are really just trying our best to wear a mask every day, or trying our best to please somebody else, or to fit into a space or form that has been assigned to us. We're not living in our authentic selves. And then outwardly, we are not free in terms of being able to have free will. We have the simulation of thinking that we have free will. However, at the end of the day, you are not in control in many places around the world of how your money and your time are spent. You know, women are not in control of our bodies. And some might even say we're not even in control of how we are consuming food. Not even might. We are not in control of the food that we consume, of the types of food we consume, the weather be doing its own thing. All of these things let us know that freedom is something that we are not truly experiencing. And so were we to actually experience it, would we have the spine, the courage, the attentiveness to care for it? And the indigenous people of the world did, right? They were stewards of this land, and it was stripped from them systematically. So when I ask people, can you handle freedom? You know, you can march to your own drum, but can you handle freedom? Folks love to talk about, I'm doing me, I'm doing me. Freedom requires collectivism. So it's great for you to be like, okay, I can march my own drum. I'm free. I'm me. I'm on my own. I'm independent. However, real freedom requires collectivism, because it requires everyone to decide that freedom is worth protecting. And that song is from my one-woman show, What Would the Ancestors Say? So the character that you hear talking in the song is a character named Dolly from What Would the Ancestors Say? And she represents the Black doll that was present in the doll tests that they used to do in the United States and in England, where they would put a black doll and a white doll, and they'd have children, you know, in front of these two dolls and ask them, well, who's the pretty doll? Who's the ugly doll? Who's the good doll? Who's the bad doll? And so often, children of all races and ethnic backgrounds would choose white for the positive and negative for the black doll. And so this character, Dolly, she represents the black doll. And so when we meet her in What Would the Ancestors Say, she is in the doll test, and she's asked the audience, do you want to go with me somewhere better than this, where there is no limitations? There are no limitations. Our imagination is what determines our freedom. And so what you're listening to in Stardust Remix is her taking you through that portal, through to a place where freedom of your imagination is limited, which is what is going to what is what is going to be required for us to actually attain freedom. We need to imagine it. Can you? Would you? Could you? And it's a house record, so it's meant to make you dance. You know, we gotta move around, y'all. We gotta dance. We gotta dance.
Yeah. Wow, better way. The hook is there's got a better. We need to have a better way.
We gotta make it.
We gotta make it. What is this better way, according to you, Amanda?
So I just referenced a small part of it, right? The collectivism. And I think on a basic level, a better way is one that really does prioritize care and caring for that which is truly like useful to the earth and to the animals, to the people, etc. I think that's something that on a very basic level should be able to be attainable, right? When I see the amount of energy that is expelled for the goal of power, right? For the goal of money, for the goal of fame, I feel like I'm just watching something so valuable, because our energy is a material thing. That's what the other thing is too. Like, folks don't realize that energy is not something that we're talking about that's just like some woo-woo made up concept. It's a literal thing. You're a combustible machine, so you're giving off energy. I mean, that's just what it is. And that energy is going out into the world. And if you think that that energy isn't being mined and it isn't being utilized, then you're wrong. because we know that frequencies are being used all the time, right? Like we're on a Wi-Fi, right? So I'm using a Wi-Fi frequency. There's radio frequencies, right? There's all these different types of frequencies, and we as humans are giving off frequencies. Trees, everything gives off a frequency, and then that frequency gets handled and commodified and controlled. So when I say a better way, I mean a way where our energy frequency is being used only to elevate our existence, not to elevate the existence of some, not to repress others, not to steal and not to steal without giving back. You feel me? And that is doable because it's been done before. The world we are in right now is not the only world that has existed. And we have been tricked into thinking it is. It's annoying. And then better way on like a more like basic level is, here in the United States, there's this idea that Democrats and Republicans are different parties that are like in opposition and that they're like fighting and there's a good guy and a bad guy. And there is no, they are not in opposition. When we say they're the same thing, what we mean is they are ruled by the same hand, which is why I say the lyric, there are not two different sides. It's two knives held by the same hand that has kept us colonized. And I say that because as long as we believe that there are sides fighting for us, we will do the fighting for them. And they're watching us use our energy to fight while they go and eat dinner together and go make deals together. And, it's sad to see how willing we have become to allowing for this to go on. So the better way is one where there ain't no room for that. And we know better than to let it be.
That's a good segue to what's going on right now. Of course, I know you know what's going on with the Cyrus Carmack case and the Karmelo Anthony case. From all this, I've always been saying, Amanda, and I always tell Kenyans, because this applies to the global African race, nobody cares about Black life. Like, Black life is something that is very, very pedestrian, something that is something that's in the I don't care list when it comes to our Black leaders, no matter where you are, and then, of course, when it comes to white supremacy. You see what happened with Cyrus Carmack, killed because of a water bottle that he didn't even steal. Karmelo Anthony was trying to defend himself. Now he has been given 35 years in jail. What do you think about? Let's first start with Cyrus Carmack, because Cyrus Carmack is the one who passed away. What do you think about that case? And yeah, let's just start there. What do you think about that case so far?
All of these cases are maddening and disturbing, and they're also not new. A few years ago, I was having this exact same conversation about Ahmaud Arbery. Before that, we're having this conversation about Mike Brown. This is a consistent conversation that is being had, whether it's talking about the police or civilian violence against Black folks. The only difference now is that there seems to be some false sense that it's worse now. And the only thing that makes it worse is that it's more. No, it's not. This has been how it's been. I would say the only thing that makes it worse is the feeling that you're getting more commentary about it because the internet is much more loud. However, people need to realize that the same Democrats that they constantly praise and want to see and treat as celebrities are folks who have been in positions and never made a stink about changing police brutality laws, who have not made a stink about the fact that incarceration is on such a disproportionately high level for Black folks in the United States while slavery is on the books. This is not some abstract concept. Black lives don't matter because they are still considered property. Black folks are still considered property. And we are so blind so often to the ways in which we are being used as property that we fall right into the hands of the same folks that we know are our oppressors. And so, I weep for Cyrus and his family, and for Karmelo and his family, and them sending their children out thinking that they're going to be safe and them never returning home, because people woke up that day with an idea that they were going to take somebody out, that they were going to take these children out. These people are waking up with continued terror in their bones that they need to carry out. And the only thing that keeps me sane is a continued effort to really put my head around, to really wrap my head around, how do we get into the weeds of shifting this? And I say the weeds because the weeds are what have been taught to us are harmful, when actually they often hold many of the elixirs that we require for healing. So how do we get into the weeds to really create the change we wish to see? And I can promise you, it's not going to be about elections. It's going to be about how we are interacting with each other. It's about how we are educating each other. It's how we are disassociating ourselves from systems of control that were given and handed to us. It's how we are making it possible for folks to get out of capitalism, how we are coming together as a community to create mutual aid. These are things that are going to require real effort. And it's Pan-Africanist by nature, whether it's happening on a local level or on a global level.
I agree. And I started by saying nobody cares about Black life. I mean, I'm sure you know this. The American government is, it's not asking. To me, I think our president was forced into building the Ebola quarantine center for American
Well, what is
citizens.
forced at this point? What is forced? Like, what's the repercussion if he doesn't do it? That's the question. Because we use the word force all the time. And I'm like, well, what's the what is the deal that they made? If you don't do this, what's going to happen? Because your president, if he's being forced, man, he be looking real happy about being forced for the past how many years? Was he forced to sit behind that desk in the Oval Office? Because he didn't seem to have an issue with that.
Well, don't get me wrong. There is, trust me. The thing about Ruto is that he was put in office by white supremacy, and he's doing their mandate. But there's also a little bit
forced.
Listen, there's a little bit of force, because let me tell you, ever since Gaddafi happened, I can assure you one thing, Amanda. African leaders, there's some chill that ran through their spine after what happened to Gaddafi. So and that's why when Gaddafi happened, not even one African president said rest in peace or this is wrong. No, everybody zipped up, because at the end of the day, America was like, you shut the F up or you'll end up like him. Or we'll do regime change like the way we've done in many African countries. So maybe those are the threats: killing or regime change, which has happened a lot of times here in Africa. Yeah.
Well, that means that the only thing keeping him there is him wanting to be there. That's it. Him saying, I would rather be here than there be a regime change, or I would rather be here than lose my life doing what's right. So unless they came to him and said, you have to be in this position or else we're going to murk all these kids, which I can promise you, I really would be very surprised if that was the case. You know, we've talked before about Black lives and about Kenya and about Africa. And without my having lived there, I would ask you if you would agree with the sentiment that we have to, as a people, change the way we value each other in order to actually have a viable resistance. Because I know that in many places, we value each other based solely on money. We value each other based solely on your value to me in my capitalist pursuits, or, to me in my career. It's always aligned monetarily. And so that is also why we see children who are the most exploited group of people the world over, more than Black people. Children are, because they can be exploited in so many ways for capitalist gain, whether it's for labor or providing pleasure to the people in power, which is how we see folks eating babies. So, I think in the case of Kenya, I support a number of Kenyan students attending high school, and the obstacles that they face to simply attend high school are really disconcerting. And then they get to high school, and then there's a whole other set of obstacles that they face in high school with simply just being able to get an education that gives them the ability to even imagine freedom, right? Because so often the education worldwide is stripping us of our imagination. It's stripping us of an ability to think for ourselves. It's stripping us of an ability to be creative and innovative, right? And in the process of supporting these children going to school, the person who was our Kenyan liaison, we find out, was stealing the money. Was stealing the money from his own Kenyan students and having them lie. So when I talk about a truth translator, as I do on this album, I'm talking about not simply living in truth and not stealing from kids, but I'm also talking about the necessity to make people who exist like that, they have to have consequences. They have to be shamed. There has to be a real decision to dispel lies and deceit from our society. And I know that may seem kind of idealistic. However, it's gotten to a point now where lying is so casual and it is so easily done that folks don't even question it. They would actually prefer the lie than the truth. And because of that, we see entire nations being threatened to be bombed, like Cuba. There's an entire falsehood that says that Cuba is a threat to the United States. No, right? Now you have the Strait of Hormuz is being opened. The Strait of Hormuz wasn't closed. These are lies. Why is Ebola even exploding in the Congo and needing to come to Kenya? I promise you that whatever reason you have been told by the Kenyan or the United States government is a lie. I promise you. So, there's always efforts being made by these factions to convince us that that there's some that the problem is so much bigger than us to fix. And I would argue that it's not. It's not. We need to fix ourselves. We are very capable of fixing and changing this world. It is not complex, in my opinion. We are very capable. We just need to make the decision. And it starts with deciding, how do we treat each other on a very, 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 very ground level. That would change a lot.
I agree. How we see each other is very skewed, and you can see, and you know, as even when you like, we don't, Amanda. Let me say this: we don't really know each other as a global African race. We don't know each other. We don't value each other. But before even we go to value, we haven't even, like, we don't know each other. Even here in Africa, you might think that, well, maybe not you, but maybe some person might think that because I'm a Kenyan, I know Ugandans because Ugandans are just next door. I can tell you for a fact, most Kenyans don't know nothing about Ugandans. Most Kenyans don't know nothing about Ethiopians, and Ethiopians, we share the same border. Most Kenyans know nothing about Somalia, and we share the same border with Somalia. Tanzania,
Why
the
is
same
that?
thing. Because at the end of the day, we have been mentally, politically, economically, socially programmed to operate in these Berlin conferences,
I have a
54
whole
borders.
song about that. Psyop.
Psyops.
It's all
Yeah.
a psyop. Can't
We are.
believe nothing. Because they stay front and then they done lie to you. That's what psyop is about. They is them, and who they are is not what you think. It's really just the song is really asking you to ask yourself, what is my perception of the world and who shaped it? And when you ask yourself that, you realize I didn't shape it. So then how do I start shaping my perception of the world? So for every Kenyan that doesn't know anything about Uganda, about Somalia, about Ethiopia, you have to ask yourself, why don't I know anything about Somalia, Uganda, and Ethiopia? Whose decision was that? Because I was made to go to school for all these years, and it wasn't my decision to go to school. So I was in a school that decisively did not teach me about the people around me. Why? Because were Africa to be united, it would not be able to be exploited. That is why. Because if you know about Somalia and you know about Ethiopia and you know about Uganda, then you're going to care about Ethiopia and you're going to care about Somalia and you're going to care about Uganda. And if you care about them and they care about you, then now you have an alliance and you cannot be as easily exploited. And the great example of this is what's happening in the Sahel.
Yeah. And also to add on top of that, we don't know nothing about African American, and so we need to know each other so that, okay, well, not me, of course, but most Kenyans, most Africans don't know.
Do you know anything about the Caribbean?
Same, like, let me tell you, most Africans don't know anything. If not anything, maybe the few that most Africans know is hip hop, is movie, is entertainment, like the things we see on TV,
This is
right?
why I started doing music. This is why. This is why I was brought back to music. Because exactly what you said is the truth. And they have used these incredible mediums of artistry to keep us in these hypnotic cycles of ignorance. And so in order to break that, you got to make something else in that space, but that breaks that cycle. And so that's what this album is. That's what this music is about. It's really attempting to shift the frequency, but by coming to the people where they're at. You all are, all of us, not you all, we are beings that have rhythmic systems. Like, we are literally musical people, literally. Like my undergraduate senior project was called Musical People. We are, our hearts beat in rhythm. When they are off rhythm, it is a problem, right? It's an arrhythmia. A heart that is not beating on rhythm is literally life altering. So that lets you know that music is in us. It is a part of us. When we are seeing indigenous peoples all over the continent and all over the world, they all have a drum. Indigenous people always have a drum. And they have a drum because the rhythm is a part of how their energy circulation remains in tune. And the earth also has a heartbeat. Literally, it has a frequency. So you are connecting to the heartbeat and the frequency of the earth. And that is how we are able to use these physical bodies to their highest capabilities. And so we have seen in the, in the last hundreds of years, we have seen forces that have come and interrupted that. And they disrupted it on many, many levels. And it began first at the ground level by disconnecting indigenous people from the land. And now we feel like we're so far away that we don't even remember what it was like before. But I will tell you that music has always been there and it remains here. And so any of us who want to create a shift in ourselves and in others, we can start with music.
By the way, back to the album, I like the fact that it's on Bandcamp. It's very good for independent artists. You can set your price, and this is how music should be. I mean, I don't know why people are not adopting this model of releasing your album independently, setting your price, and people just buy it, and you receive your money as you see it. What do you think about that model?
People are afraid, I mean, I will say I have an audience, so I can do that much easier than most because I do have my own audience, but I built it up for years and years and years and years. I didn't even build it up through music, right? Though it has been really cool to see people who have been with me since my music days saying, "Oh my gosh, you're back doing music." And it's just like, damn, y'all been riding with me for a long time. And so I think, the model itself is also, there's a fear factor in terms of like how successful can it be. However, it's also expensive. It is expensive to make art. We in the United States are dealing with insane amounts of inflation. I mean, everything just costs so much money. I can tell you that I have really invested in myself with this project and invested in the vision of the people. And I don't know how I'm going to turn out. I don't know. I just have to trust that this is the right path because I'm obedient to my intuition and it ain't served me wrong yet. So I appreciate everyone who has dropped a dollar or two on my Bandcamp. I did set the setting to you can pay whatever you want, right? So it is free. And I'm on a tour. I hope to make it out to Kenya, where I'm doing sound sessions, where I'm walking people through the album. I'm taking them through the album. I'm dancing them through the album. I'm leading them through the album, in some sort, in sort of a meditative practice that also gives them insight into the nuts and bolts of the process. And that I hope will have them leave the space different than they arrived in it, right? So, this is not simply just, I'm doing an album and I'm putting it out. But I know for a lot of people, Bandcamp can be really helpful because as an independent artist, you really can't album like artists who are on a label. You have to do a whole lot of other things to get folks to really like lock in, and that isn't always that's not always capable for everybody.
Wow. Is there going to be a Truth Translator 2?
I mean, I'm going to keep doing music. I mean, the next thing I'm doing is a children's show, and that will come out later this year. And there'll be an album that comes along with that in the fall. And then the producer that I was going to produce the album with, Ray Angry, we have a project that we're going to start working on. I feel at home when I'm doing music. I have to say that. Like, I really, really felt at home when I was producing this music, and I felt really comfortable. And for the fact that I was a novice, it didn't feel like anxiety for like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It really just felt compelling. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. So you are absolutely going to get more music. If that's what you're asking.
Well, you know what? I need a Truth Translator part 2. I need a part
2. You'll get more. I mean, like, there's certain songs like the song I sing, the acapella song I sing at the end. Like, I'm gonna finish that. I'm gonna do it as a whole song and put it out as a single. So there's definitely more to come. And for those of you all, yes, there's magic in you.
You know, when I was listening to that song, wait, Amanda, you know, when I was listening to it, I was like, wait, it's only 48 seconds. Wait, whoa, where's the rest of the song? Okay, so there's a part two.
Yeah,
Yes.
just a little taste, a little taste, a little taste. And honestly, the song, I feel like the words are potent enough in those 48 seconds to still leave you thinking, right? Like it's not a cliffhanger. It's like, wait, is magic gonna save us? What does she mean by that? And that's what I want. I want you to leave any work that I make thinking and wondering and imagining and considering. And so I'm really just looking forward to continuing to do that with folks through this creative work. So y'all make sure you go to amandadiva.bandcamp.com, or you can go to amandadivamusic.com, or you can go to amandaseals.com. You got 3 different ways to get to the album, to listen to the music. And you can also get merch. I'm not sure if we ship to Kenya, but for anyone who is not in Kenya and is watching Orina's podcast, you know, I say we, meaning me, myself, and I. I am doing my best to also, I want to do like sessions where I teach like the songs. Like I want to talk about like the actual backgrounds of the songs, like do breakdowns of the songs and, you know, what they're all about and everything. So I'll let you know when I start doing those. But as always, it's a pleasure to chat and to build and to consider with a like mind. And I thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Please, I always like ending my show with a last word, but I like giving my last word first, then my guest finishing the
Okay.
show. Okay. So, Amanda, I want to say you are one of the most important people that I have seen from the entertainment realm, because let me tell you, man, and I know you know this because you've brushed shoulders with all of them. Most of them really are just disappointing. And I've been saying that since I was in high school. So this isn't me just now. I've been saying this for a very long time. Most celebrities, actors, singers, entertainers in general are a disappointment to the black community. Same thing here in Kenya. In fact, I saw some of them causing up to Macron when he came to Kenya, dancing for him, cooking for him, singing for him. Yeah, yeah. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And and this isn't just a African American issue. It's a global African issue. Our
Yeah.
celebrities have left us, but there's people like you. I mean, Amanda, let me say, I've been watching you for a very long time.
Not long enough to
Since
know the music, though. Not long enough to know the music.
well, I can say this. It was from Insecure though. So from Insecure, I started, and then I was like, and then I started seeing you online speaking about black people. You've been doing that for a very long time, and I was like, wow, wow, like she's actually doing this, and she's in the entertainment sector. Why is she not scared? Why is she not,
You
keeping
know
her
what the
mouth
answer to
shut?
that is?
What?
Because I'm a truth translator. Because truth for
Mm,
me is a religion. I have to be fully committed to speaking what I know and speaking from a place of honesty, because on a very real level, it is the lies that are harming us and controlling us. So the only way to break the spell is to yell the truth.
mm, mm. I agree. Well, that's my last word. Please, Amanda, give your last word. Give your last word. Give your last word.
My last word is, there is magic in you that sees magic in me. It is how we will change humanity. I mean that literally. I mean that in truth. We must take these devils down. With the magic we move.
Say less. Say less. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for coming. Please go buy the album on
Yes.
Bandcamp. I'll put the link on the description.
Yes.
Amanda Diva 2.0, thank you so much for coming. Thank you. God
Thank
bless.
you for having
Keep on doing
me.
what you do.